Am I wrong for saying that I wouldn't be playing mom with my ex's affair baby? My ex-husband and I divorced 4 years ago because he cheated. He had an affair baby, Juniper 3 female, with the other woman, but Juniper's mom passed away when she was 1. Aside from my ex-husband and his family, she doesn't have anyone else because her mom grew in the system. He and I have 4 kids, Josh 20 male, Cassidy 16 female, Nate 11 male, and Jacob 8 male. When we divorced, Joshua cut him off and Cassidy followed him soon after. They don't visit him anymore and has never met Juniper. He has always blamed me for that because I kept his children away. But he might be an awful husband and partner, but he's an awesome dad. I'll give him that much. I know she's blameless, but I can't separate her from my ex's betrayal, so now every time I pick Nate and Jacob up, I try not to engage much. If she says hi, I say hi back. If she waves, I do too, but nothing more. Now, every time I pick them up, she starts to mumble, "Mama, Mama." I've told her things like, "No, Juniper, I'm not your mom. Call me my name. I'm fine with that." Last time, she actually ran at me calling me Mama and began to cry when I didn't pick her up and take her with me. Listen, I don't think my ex is telling her to call me mom, but that's how Nate and Jacob acts, especially Jacob. He runs at me saying, "Mom, Mom," and hugs me, so I guess she's copying his behavior. Yesterday, my son spent Easter with my ex's family and Juniper ran at me again. I said hi and my ex asked for a second, which I said yes. He basically told me that seeing me picking up the boys, being affectionate and loving with them is confusing and hurting Juniper. She's a baby and she doesn't understand what's happening. So he asked me if I could just take her with me for a few days like I do with the boys and maybe over the time let her call me mom. I said absolutely not, that I'm sorry for Juniper, but that I won't be playing mom with her and that I'm only keeping a relationship with both of them because of our sons. He called me heartless and pointed out how she cries when I leave without her, but I said that it wasn't my problem and that he should deal with that. He later sent a video of Juniper crying by the door and said, "I hope you're happy." So, am I the asshole? I mean, I know it's not her fault, but it isn't mine either.
Basically, there was a lot of shit that went down, but I'll tell you one thing that kind of pissed me off. So I had this table and everything went fine. You know, they weren't like nice, but they weren't really rude. It was just whatever. And I, ran their card because they wanted to go home. And I accidentally, me and another server were running a card at the same time. So I ran the correct table. I just took the top slip from someone else's table. So I drop it off and then I come back to pick it up, see if they need anything because they're kind of like looking around. And they're like, this is not, like, they're mad as fuck. They're like, you need to refund us. Like, you ran us on the wrong table. Like, this is wrong. And I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. I hate when that happens because, it doesn't happen often, but every once in a while it's going to happen, okay? Especially because it was busy last night. Hold on. So it takes me all of 2 seconds to realize what happened. And I'm like, oh, like, I'm so sorry for the confusion. Like, I ran the correct, table. Like, your card is fine. I just grabbed the wrong piece of paper. And they are not picking up what I'm putting down. So I had to explain it to them 4 separate times until they finally were like, I just woke up, okay? Until they finally were like, oh, okay, whatever. And I was like, okay, like, have a good day. I'm so sorry about the confusion. So they leave, and after a while, they come back, and I see them, and they're like, don't even talk to me. They ask for a manager. And I'm like, oh, fuck my life. Like, not this shit again. And so my manager comes over to me, and she's like, what happened with this table? I explained it to her, and she's like, okay, like, they're saying that their bank statement is showing a charge for $90. Their bill was $60. I was like, there ain't no fucking way. I haven't even put the tip in yet. Like, I haven't even entered anything in the system. It's not even closed out completely. And she's like, okay, so basically, I don't really know what ended up happening, but my manager was like, it's not your fault. You did the correct thing. I don't know what's going on with them. And so I was like, okay, so that was kind of annoying. And then I had another table after that. It's this mom and dad, a daughter, another mom and dad, a daughter, and then probably their daughter's friend or whatever. And they're super nice. I go over, they already have drinks on the table, right? And these girls don't look a day over 16 years old, have drinks in front of them. They're frozen. And I'm like, okay, they're probably like virgin daiquiris or something. Because like, bitches do that a lot. I don't know. I used to do that shit. So the people at the table are like getting up and like walking around because, we have live music. It's kind of like that kind of vibe. And one of the husbands orders 2 frozen margaritas. And I'm assuming it's for his wife. Like, I have nothing to think like suspiciously at this point because I'm also busy and he has his wife there. She's just not at the table right now. I'm like, okay, so I bring the drinks over, running around still, and then come back. The drinks are in front of the guy and the woman, and he orders another 2. And I'm like, okay, come back, walking around. It's starting to die down in the restaurant a little bit. And I noticed that the drinks are now sitting in front of the girls. And I'm like, oh, hell fucking. I'm like, no. So they're already like halfway gone, so I'm not gonna fucking say anything. Like, I honestly, you could burn this entire place down with me inside of it and I wouldn't give a fuck, okay? But then I come around again and he orders another round. And at that point, I'm like, okay, I know exactly what's going on here. No, ma'am. So I go back into the office because number one, all three of my managers were there, including the owner of the restaurant. I am not losing my job because you want your 16-year-old daughter to drink. Okay, like, because frankly, I personally don't give a fuck, but we could lose our liquor license. Any of my managers could walk by at any moment and I could just be done for it. Like, no. So I go to the office, tell my manager what's happening. She's like, okay, I'll come out. She makes it look like she makes it look like she's doing rounds. And then I come back to the table after and I'm like, oh, like my manager was over here. Like, are you guys okay? Like playing fucking stupid. And he's like, yeah, she said we can't order any more drinks anymore. And I was like, oh, like, I'm sorry. And then he looks at me and he's like, I wonder who ratted us out. Like, I don't think it was you. And I was like, so you're really deadass just gonna fucking tell me that you knew exactly what you were doing? I was like, bro. And like, the daughters weren't ordering things. They were waiting until I wasn't at the table to like drink out of them and like put them in front of them. Because every time I came back, the drinks weren't in front of them until they got drunker, pretty much. But yeah, and there was like a lot of other shit going on just behind the scenes. And it was just not a good night. And Janelle also wasn't there. And she works today and I'm not working today. So I'm waiting for that phone call to see how this goes.
Ooh, I have got some steamy hot brothel drama straight out the kitchen for you this morning. One of my coworkers pulled me aside and was like, do you remember so-and-so? And I was like, I'm better with faces than names, honey. You got to do better than that. And she was like, you made a video about him a while back, about him coming here with his wife. And I was like, oh yeah, that guy. What about him? Well, apparently he's been seeing my coworker for a few times now. And I was like, did I see you guys have an overnight the other week? And she's like, yeah, he stayed here with me the whole night and that's the last time I saw him. And I'm like, well, what happened? And a little backstory on this man. I don't have a video posted on this profile, but I'll make a new story time. He came to see me a while ago at this point. The first time I met him, we negotiated and he had to step out of the room, or he asked me to step out of the room rather, so he could call his wife and make sure that that was okay, because it was more than the amount that they had agreed upon before he left the house. And everything was cool. We had a great party and he said, I would love you to meet my wife. I think you guys would really mesh. She's looking to have an experience here and she never has before. I'll get into the details in another video, but basically he came back. I had dinner with him and his wife. He partied with another lady and I partied with his wife. Neither the husband or the wife booked with me again after that, so I didn't see them and haven't kept up with them. My coworker's like, yeah, well, you want to know what happened? And I was like, girl, yes, I want to know what happened. So apparently he told his wife before he came out for their overnight appointment, I'm in love with this woman. I'm going to tell her. And his wife was like, great, you should do that. I'm seeing a man on the side and I have feelings for him. So he comes and he tells my coworker he is in love with her. He has got real feelings for her. Will she come and see him on the outside? Can they form a real relationship? And in the most polite and considerate way possible, she very gently explained to him, this is her job. This is just a transaction for her. Although she cares about him as a person, she does not reciprocate those feelings. And he got very mad and he called her a dirty hooer. Oh no. Let me tell you something. You know what I do for a living? I expect people to be disgusted and repulsed by me. So newsflash, it does not hurt my feelings or anybody else's feelings when you meet that expectation. That's not even the end of the drama though. He emailed her a few days after their appointment and was like, my wife has an odor down there that she's never had before, so explain yourself. And my coworker said that she did not respond to him and she's not going to respond to him because what does she have to explain? And I have to agree with her because we use protection for all activities here. We have no body fluid exchange whatsoever and we are tested every 7 days. And he already said his wife's fucking somebody else, so you need to handle that at home. I just knew when I met this couple way back though, that this is the kind of thing that was gonna go on. I was like, they need to get divorced. They are coming here to put a band-aid on a divorce situation.
I look crazy as fuck, haven't shaved in 9 days because I just spent the last 9 days in a psych ward. A real psych ward too, like not a fake one. I'm a crazy psycho bitch, like I go dumb. That's a Natalie Nunn quote, which is crazy because I tweeted that like a day or two before I landed myself in a psych ward. The psych ward that put me, just a gay boy, inside of a straitjacket. That type of psych ward. You probably wondering like, Davey, how did you end up in a psych ward? Let me tell you, I have poor mental health. It's been a battle inside this big old head of mine for a really long time. And I almost lost my battle with depression the night all of this happened. That's a story time for another day. I don't want to tell that right now because I want to tell this one first. I don't know how long this video is going to be. I really don't want to make 50 parts, but I do want to tell y'all all the tea about this. This was like a life-changing experience, honestly. So I'm gonna just skip to like the psych ward part. There's 2 separate little things that happen in between, but I feel like them is separate story times. If y'all want to hear that, I'll tell y'all those 2. But one of them is how the police kicked down my door, instantly put me in handcuffs, and was treating me like a motherfucking criminal for trying to myself, whatever. Then the other one is the hospital that I was at before I got transferred to the psych ward. Yeah, they had me so fucked up in there. They treated me like a fucking piece of gum that got chewed up already. Like, I don't know. But yeah, I really want to air them out. So if y'all want me to, just let me know, because I'm ready. But let me skip to the psych ward part. So because I don't want to land anywhere near the county again, like the hospital, jail, the psych ward again, I'm going to try to respect HIPAA and not like say anything that's going to get me in trouble. I know I'm not allowed to say like names. I don't think I'm allowed to speak on the specific facility I was at. So I'm going to leave all them details out. Just follow along as much as you can. So anyway, I was brought to this psych ward around 7:30 p.m. on a Friday night by some really rude, mean police officers. I was in my scrubs, my really cheap and ripped scrubs from the hospital I just got transferred from. I was musty as fuck. They ain't let me take no shower in there. Again, that's a story time, a separate story time. Anyways, they bring me to my unit. Like the people who work there, like they brought me to my unit after I did my little intake paperwork. I had to sign all these papers against my will. And they brought me to my unit. As soon as you walk in the unit, it's like the common room, it's the common area, it's the TV, it's like people playing cards, it's the front desk with all the nurses and all the staff be at. This table over here where people was playing games and talking was full of like the inmates. I mean, patients, my bad. We gonna get into that too. They instantly was like, newbie, 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 newbie. And I look at them like, don't start that bullshit. Please go on some of that bullshit. I'm not the one. And, you know, they didn't care. Well, nobody scared of me in there, so they just kept fucking saying it. And I just, I just ignored them because I was, in my mind, I was getting out the next day. So I'm like, whatever, fuck it. I had to sign some more paperwork. I'm just looking at the place. It was dingy. Everything was white. Everything was like pale colors, like white, but there was also like random walls that was off-white. It was random walls that was like pale blue and like pale pink. The lighting was terrible. All the windows was blocked off, like double tinted, like it was tinted on the outside and tinted on the inside. Like it was just miserable in there. I'm like, oh my fucking gosh. Like I'm really in a psych ward. Like it really looks like how I look on TV. So after like more paperwork and shit, it was time for me to see my room. While I was doing the paperwork, I was gonna ask the nurse like, do we got roommates up in here? But I'm like, nah, they wouldn't put like two, I don't want to call anybody crazy, but like they wouldn't put 2 people in a psych ward in a room together. Like they wouldn't do that. Like that's dumb, Davey. Like come on now. So I ain't asked. So on the way down this hallway, like I said, the lighting was terrible. It was cold, but it was still musty. Like it was muggy but cold at the same time. Like I don't know how to describe that. But we got to my room. I look in there and I instantly seen 2 beds. I was like, oh hell no. I'm like, I got a roommate. I was like, no. I don't want no roommate. Please. I'll sleep on the floor. Like, please, I do not want a roommate. Like, I can't do this. I can't do this. And the man was just like, there's nothing we can do. Everybody got a roommate. Every room has 2 beds. Da da da. I was like, oh my gosh. He was like, I'll put in a request to put you in one of the rooms where there's only one. I'm like, okay, please. So I'm like, all right. I go in my room to put my little stuff down, the little paperwork that I signed and like the little belongings that they let me keep, which was really just my white t-shirt and my dirty socks. And they did let me keep my house shoes on. They didn't let me bring my hoodie in there, and they didn't let me bring my jogging pants because the jogging pants had strings on them. So you were not allowed to bring that type of stuff past the walls, like into your unit. So I'm setting my little stuff down and I'm just examining the room. Lighting is terrible. The walls is white, but it's like a random wall that's like light blue. And on the wall, it was like writing like old inmates, patients that was writing stuff like, fuck this place. It was like 666, devil, demon, a bunch of shit. It was holes in the wall that I feel like they've tried to paint over, but it was on a blue wall, but they painted over with white. So it was just like random little splashes of white paint that they tried to cover something up, but it literally looked like all they did was do one stroke and they said, fuck it. Like, They didn't put no effort into it at all. The beds was cheap as fuck. Like, there was twin beds, of course, and it was a mattress pad. It wasn't a real mattress. It was a mattress pad. They put a little sheet over it and then a little hospital blanket over it, and then a pillow, a very, very, very cheap thin pillow with another cheap, dingy, used pillowcase on top of it. I instantly just got more depressed because I'm not like a germaphobe, but I'm very germ conscious. And like, I just think about like, damn, I gotta put my face on this pillowcase that's been used before, whether it got washed or not. Like, my brain can't really process that. Like, then I went to go look at the bathroom. There's no door on the shower and the toilet. And the toilet was like steel or titanium, which I noticed makes everybody taking a shit sound really, really loud. Like, I don't know if the fart would just be bouncing off the aluminum or the titanium, whatever it was. It just makes everything really, really loud, and it's really hollow in there. So like, anytime anybody was taking a shit, I could hear the people down the hallway taking a shit. Like, it was just too much. Everybody knows about the shower curtain. Even in your own house, you don't like the shower curtain to touch you. The shower curtain was so damn close to the water, G. Like, it was no escaping it. Like, the shower was this big. The bathroom was like the worst part of it. I was over it. I'm like, I'm tired as fuck. I'ma just take me a little dirty ass shower. Imagine that, a dirty shower. I'ma take me a dirty ass shower and I'ma take my ass to sleep. I had spilled a lot of water on the floor. This is where shit get interesting, because now common room time was over and everybody had to go back to their rooms. So it was time for me to meet my roommate.
Something I wish I knew when I first started dating was that your body will give you signs that the person you're with is not right for you before your brain does. Every time I've been with someone that's not right for me, which I'm gonna be so transparent, that's been every time, my body has always given me a sign that I didn't notice or didn't pay attention to at first. I cannot believe I'm going to share this on TikTok. I swore I was going to take this to the grave, but for the sake of making a point, I feel like I have to share this. So a couple years ago, I started seeing this guy, and every time we were together, my stomach would be a war zone, okay? Now, if you know me, you're probably thinking, that's not weird for you. You have stomach issues. Like, your stomach hurts all the time. This was different, though. Like, every time we'd be together, I would be like, I'm sorry, I have to leave because I'm gonna go myself. Every time I was around this guy, I couldn't eat, I couldn't drink, I couldn't even swallow, frankly, because it would just go straight through me. It got to the point where it was so bad that I felt like we couldn't hang out anywhere where there wasn't a bathroom immediately available to me. That's not normal. So this one particular date we went on, oh god, for some reason I thought it was a good idea to go like 30 minutes out of town to like have a little picnic with the sunset, okay? Sounds like cute in theory, right? So all day before this date, I feel great. I feel amazing, actually. And then an hour before the date, when he's like, I'm coming to pick you up in an hour, it starts brewing. Something's brewing. Immediately, when I enter his car, I realize this is the worst idea I've ever had. Like, you know that feeling in your stomach when you feel like you're just gonna like shit your pants? That's how I felt, and I was determined to will it away. I was like, nope, this isn't happening. I'm just gonna like put myself in a mental state to make this go away. As soon as we got there though, nope, the feeling returned, and we are 30 minutes out of town and not a bathroom in sight. I'm panicking now. So again, I'm not eating anything, I'm not drinking anything, I'm not really saying anything, and he notices and he's like, are you good? And I'm like, honestly, no, I don't feel good. Can we go home? We're packing up and he's taking his sweet time to get the blanket all folded up in the car, blah, 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 put the speaker away. Here I am by the door, clutching my stomach for dear life, and I'm like standing hunched over, like whining about my stomach, like borderline crying. Mind you, we are 30 minutes out of town. I don't think I'm gonna be able to make it. Like genuinely, I was afraid. So we're driving back, he's driving, he's not driving fast enough. I'm like sitting there not speaking, I'm looking straight ahead, I'm seeing white at this point. Like my stomach feels like it's full of hot lava. It's not good, it's not looking good. And if you're wondering, why didn't you ask him to pull over? Why didn't you ask him to stop at a gas station? I couldn't tell you. I don't know why I didn't ask him to. I guess I was like embarrassed, but like girl, what's more embarrassing? Asking him to pull off to a gas station or shitting your pants in his car? I don't pretend to understand the thought processes I had when I was like 20. Like I thought wasn't me, I wasn't her. Anyway, by some miracle of God, we make it to my house unscathed. And I'm just like, you know, I'll be right back. So I go to my bathroom and I'm sitting there, I'm in my bathroom probably 30 minutes and I text him, I'm like, hey, you should probably leave. Like this, I'm gonna be here for a while. So during the time this is happening, I'm also experiencing jaw pain when I wake up. Like every morning, my back teeth and my jaw hurt so bad that I can't even open my mouth for like 30 minutes in the morning. But again, I don't think that any of these things are connected to the guy that I'm seeing. So eventually we realize, yeah, this isn't working out, and we stop seeing each other. I stopped having those severe stomach episodes like immediately, and the jaw pain gone in a week. That's finally when I realized my body was literally rejecting that man, and I just didn't put two and two together. The same thing happened with a different guy I was seeing. It wasn't stomach pain, but every time we hung out, I would come home with the most intense migraine of my life. The first time it happened, I kind of chalked it up to coincidence. I was like, okay, it's probably like the new perfume I'm wearing, or I didn't sleep enough, or I don't know, I drank too much coffee or something. I don't know. But then it would happen every single time. I would be fine all day. We'd hang out. I'd come home with a headache. It happened every single time. We stopped seeing each other. And what do you know? Headaches stopped too. So basically what I'm saying is listen to your body. Your body knows when something isn't right for you, and it will try to tell you, and you have to listen to it. And that's not to say that you're never going to be nervous or like feel sweaty or like have butterflies when you first start seeing someone, but it should not be making you physically ill.
I almost failed nurse practitioner school. Let's talk about it. So for those of y'all that don't know, I'm currently a cardiac nurse practitioner, but the journey to get here was not always a smooth one. I almost failed my last semester of NP school because of a mistake on my faculty's part. At the end of my nurse practitioner program, we had to participate in something called OSCEs. Don't ask me what OSCE stands for, I don't remember. Basically, the idea behind this is to evaluate whether or not you're ready to become a nurse practitioner. We had to engage in 2 OSCE scenarios with professional actors that were trained to act like patients. So basically you go into this room that's set up exactly like a doctor's office, and there is an actor sitting there that pretends to be the patient. And you have to go in, do your assessment, you know, patient education, physical exam, all that good stuff. And once you finish the scenario, you go out and you write your note. It's like role playing in a sense, except your entire future is on the line. So my school thought it'd be a great idea to say that if you did not pass your OSCE examination, then you would not be able to graduate. Didn't matter if you had all A's throughout the entire program and you did very well during clinicals. If you did not pass the OSCEs, you were not walking that stage. So things were already nerve-wracking as is. On the day of my OSCE examinations, I got 2 scenarios, and to be quite honest, I flew through them and I felt really confident. Not in a cocky way, I just had really studied, paid attention in clinicals, and you know, I was preparing for this moment. I remember that day leaving my OSCE examinations, and I was calling my boyfriend and telling him, you know, I think I did really good. There's no way I failed. I missed some things. I wasn't perfect, but I know your girl passed. Fast forward to 2 weeks, because we had to wait 2 weeks to get our grades. I'm like constantly refreshing Canvas to see what my grade is. On the screen pops a whopping 61. I was flabbergasted, to say the least. It took me a few minutes to process what was actually happening, and then finally it hit me all at once, and I was like, oh my god, I'm not graduating. I start emailing all of my faculty and going up the chain of command because I was like, there's no way in heck that I made an F on this. I was a total mess. I was bawling my eyes out. I don't want to say I was depressed, but I felt like a failure in that moment. I felt like I had failed everybody because so many people knew I was in NP school, and they kept asking, when are you going to graduate? Every time I emailed faculty, I got the same response. Your grade is your grade. There were no mistakes made. This is what it is. I even brought this up to the dean. I begged everybody to go back in and just rewatch my OSCE videos. And even the dean wasn't that helpful. Fast forward to 4 days later, I get an email from our program coordinator who tells me, good morning, there was a mistake that was made. You actually made a 91. Obviously keyed in the grade incorrectly. That's just what I'm assuming. But the school told me that they got my grade mixed up with another student who had the same last name as me. I was like, this is horrendous, because how can this school put us through so much hell for the past 2 years and harp on us about being perfect and never making mistakes, but then the faculty made a huge mistake that would have cost me my future? Which some of y'all may think that's a little bit dramatic, but I don't, because this is my career. Y'all, I was just so ecstatic when I received that email. The worst part of it all is that nobody apologized for their mistakes. They were just like, oh, hey, wrong grade. But had I not advocated for myself, I would have never graduated from NP school, and that mistake would have never been rectified. So I share this story for 2 reasons. 1, never give up. And 2, always fight for yourself, even when everybody else is telling you you're wrong or making you feel crazy, when you know deep inside your bones, in your gut, in your intuition, that you are right, that something is off.
A couple weeks ago, I was supposed to go on this first date with a guy from Hinge, and he was texting me a lot leading up to it. It got to the point where if he would text me and I wouldn't respond for like a couple hours, he would be like, damn, somebody forgot about me. Happened several times to the point where I had to be like, okay, I know you're kidding and you're joking around, but this is a little bit much. Like, we haven't even been on a first date and I work and stuff, so I'm not going to respond right away. His first response was, alrighty, and then he followed that up with, why don't you let me know what times you work so I know when to text you? And I was like, I already told you I work a 9 to 5, but also I can chat sometimes. So like, why is this a thing? Like, we haven't even met. But we had a date planned and he seemed like a nice guy besides that, so I was willing to just go on this first date and see how the vibe was in person. It gets to the day of the date and he texts me good morning, and he texts me, hey, confirming that we're still on for 7 o'clock tonight with the place that we were supposed to go. And I was like, yep, sounds good, I'll see you there. The evening rolls around and I fully get ready for this date, and I text him before our date is supposed to start, and I'm like, hey, I'm leaving now, I'm on my way. And my text goes to green, and it hadn't been green before. I text him again after he doesn't respond, and it's supposed to be the time of our date, and I was like, hey, we still on? Like, what's going on? Same thing, green text, he doesn't respond. And then I tried calling him, which I shouldn't have. I should have just left it at the unanswered text, right? But I called him trying to see like what was happening. Like, maybe his phone died, but like, who lets their phone die before first date? I don't know. Phone goes straight to voicemail. I literally think this man blocked me. This man who would not leave me alone for days and desperately wanted to go on a date with me. Like, he was so excited about me. It was pretty obvious. And I mean, who wouldn't? Like, look at me. Anyhow, he blocked me before our date, and he had confirmed our date. What kind of psycho ass behavior is that? That genuinely is probably one of the weirdest things that has happened to me while dating, and weird things have happened to me, like weird things. I'll be retiring from the dating scene until further notice. I give up. I don't think that my soulmate is in Indiana, and I don't even know why I'm even trying. And these men on dating apps are absolutely crazy. If you watched my dating horror stories that I posted on Valentine's Day, remember the guy who tried to blame being racist on his cat? That guy also vaped at the dinner table on our first date, and I just overlooked that. Yeah. A grown ass man vaping at the dinner table on our first date. And I was like, yeah, let's definitely have a second date. What? An opening line I got the other day on a dating app was, I hope you like neck kisses. I was like, whoa, what the heck? Like, you're really gonna open with that? And then he got really mad that I was like not into him opening with hope you like neck kisses. I legitimately bought a book the other day called How to Date Men When You Hate Men. It's gotten to that point. As excruciating as it is to date in this day and age, it also makes for a great story time. So at least there's that. If there's one thing men have, it's the audacity. And I'm done. I'm done.
Dentists, what's your secret to having perfect teeth? After 45 years of working in the dental industry, I was fired for doing too well, and let me tell you, dentists fool their patients in more ways than one. When I went to medical school, we learned every method to help improve the health of our teeth. So when I began working at the clinic, I was shocked to see the common methods for dentists. Instead of recommending an easy fix, many dentists will tell you to use some expensive treatment that could be solved using something as simple as floss. Many times, if a patient has a flossing issue, the dentist will recommend an expensive mouthwash kit. If the patient isn't brushing properly, they'll tell you to buy an electric toothbrush that's not only overpriced but also gives them a commission. I've seen countless patients break into a cold sweat, just thinking of whether their insurance would cover the complicated treatment methods. I made a promise to myself that I wouldn't cause that feeling for my own patients despite my clinic's policies for typical treatments. Whenever my patients have an issue that their insurance can't cover, I recommend easy DIY solutions, especially like the one I'm going to reveal. A lot of problems like cavities, bad breath, and most gum diseases stem from one thing: an imbalanced pH level. This stems from the acids in your mouth and from the food you eat, resulting in odors forming from the pH level in your saliva dropping to a 5.5. The ideal pH level you want in your mouth is a 6.7. If your breath stinks, that's probably why. Snacking during the day is one of the top contributors to why a patient's pH level drops. If you're unsure whether your breath has an odor or not, lick your wrists, on the side where the skin is sensitive. Let it dry for a moment, and if the smell is bad, it's very likely that your pH level is imbalanced. A couple years ago, a patient with a severely imbalanced pH level came to me, and luckily I had the solution for them. The patient, a mother, came into my office with her toddler who refused to talk and kept holding his cheek in pain. After doing x-rays on him, we saw the beginnings of 7 cavities. Typically, you find a couple cavities on most patients, but this was a toddler whose adult teeth hadn't even come in and was developing cavities already at an early age. That's what we call dental caries. This kid was on the verge of gum disease at an early age, which is an ugly sight. When I see a child with teeth as bad as this, I morally have to assume that this child is in a dangerous situation at home. I sat down with his mother and asked why she waited so long to take him for an appointment, or if she was administering any oral care for him. She told me that it was only recently that her insurance approved her and covered this appointment. I told her, while I understood her position, that still didn't explain the condition her child's teeth were in. I remember watching her try to hold her composure in front of me. She told me in an effort to get him to enjoy solid foods, she started giving him lollipops and he developed a sweet tooth. It got so bad that he won't eat food unless it means he gets a lollipop afterwards. She was so afraid of her kid not eating that cavities didn't even cross her mind. My clinic's policy was to give her baby fillings for his cavities and inevitably causing her to spend thousands of dollars due to his obvious sweet tooth problem. But I could see that she just needed one person to give her a chance. I told her to come back next week and I'd have her treatment for free. I already knew what this baby needed. I went into my office and checked for some tooth cleaning lollipops. I luckily still had a whole bag left filled with multiple flavors of those lollipops that prevent cavities and clean teeth. They had the golden component erythritol, which is excellent for reducing acidity and, in turn, rebalances the oral pH level, stripping away the bacteria that infests your saliva. The best part is that this cleaning process only takes 10 minutes, and they taste amazing. I picked the bag and when the next appointment rolled around, I gave it to the mother. I advised her to give these to her son after every meal instead of whatever candy she was using before. After a couple more checkups, her son's teeth were healing well and there weren't any more visible signs of tooth decay thanks to the tooth cleaning lollipops. We worked something out for him to get fluoride varnish in the future when his adult teeth grow in place. I also wrote her down a referral for a nutrition specialist and told her that I'd be in contact